My name is Lindiwe Msengana-Ndlela. I represent iKamvelihle Development Trust, an organization based in Cala in the Eastern Cape. And my talk today has a theme, the optimism of the mind and practical action in support of quality education. Dear Chairperson, Dr. Damons, Madam Vice Chancellor of the Nelson Mandela University, Professor Mutwa, Madam Dean of the Faculty of Education, Dr. Mueng, Chairman of the Utopia Foundation, Mr. Paul Sutherland, Dr. Denver Webb of the Convergence Fund, representatives of the Mañano network of schools, representatives of parents, representatives of teachers and learners. I greet you all on behalf of the trustees and volunteers of the iKamvelihle Development Trust. We are a non-profit organization of volunteers who work with various organizations in order to support rural schools, such as those located in Cala within the Eastern Cape province of South Africa. We meet today in the context of our continent's recognition of the month of May as Africa Month. And it is within this background that I thought I want to emphasize the theme, which is about optimism of the mind and practical action, not just theory, but practical action in support of quality education. This approach is very important and is critical as we focus on the African child in our deliberations this afternoon. As iKamvelihle, we applaud the establishment of this book back project, which seeks to provide learning materials to approximately 10,000 primary school children, especially those in disadvantaged schools. Chairperson, I would like to emphasize that behind the concept of our NPO's name, and I repeat, the name is iKamvelihle, and some people I know have a difficulty with pronouncing this name, iKamvelihle. So behind the concept iKamvelihle is a call for optimism, action, and a better future. We are driven by the belief that through collaborations, working together with organizations such as and institutions for that matter, such as the NMU, the Utopia Foundation, and the Community Trust on Fisheries that we work with, we can make a difference in the development of human capital in our country and in our continent. In undertaking this kind of work, I would like to suggest to all who are here and those who are listening to this message that as Africans, we must try and inculcate a particular orientation in thinking about our purpose in life and about what we do with that purpose, and take away this negativity about a dark continent. You know, amongst other things, we must be deliberate in this optimism about how we can contribute to a better future. And I want to talk about this optimism within the context of the collaboration that we have as institutions and optimism that is inculcated in the mind of a child. And I will be brief just on those 2 points. Firstly, on us as we support the learners as organizations. I'm talking about optimism about the ability of those involved in contributing to knowledge and development opportunities. This is about using our combined capacities, not working in silos, working together, using our combined experiences, using our knowledge and resources to practical effect, and seeking to make a greater impact than before. Yes, in the different spaces which we occupy, this is possible. In working with various institutions that we represent, it is possible to act in more practical ways that can make a lasting difference in the lives of these young people in the lives of the households, and in the lives of the communities within which these young people live. And this is exemplified by this book bag project, because it gives a book to a child. It opens the doors for learning. Chairperson, an optimistic orientation to education and development does not look at poor communities with that strained eye of deficit, of inability. Instead, it is an orientation that enables the institutions or organizations as represented here to support, and most importantly, to also learn from these communities. That is why it is so vital to involve parents in such projects, as exemplified by their presence in this event today. We need to have the eyes of the heart and the mind to see that it is possible to build on a better future, to move away from the impossible, to move away from the pessimism that seems to engulf our communities these days, and to work with an orientation that embeds a positive mind and a positive attitude. We must capitalize on the ability and potential of people, of learners, of these communities, in spite of the challenges that they face in the communities where they come from. Talking about the learners themselves is important, because we have to ensure that we can help inculcate imagination. You can imagine the kind of imagination you get from a book. And I'm talking imagination, talking vision. Those are things we need in our country. Talking attitude in the mind of a person. It's a belief that in spite of difficult circumstances that one might face, it is possible to use education as a tool for a better future. Is it not wonderful that a book and a good teacher can help you in developing such a conviction, can help a child in developing an attitude and a positive orientation towards life itself? And we need this orientation even more now in the age of the coronavirus pandemic and its aftermath that we will face in the next year or two. So I'm talking about books. I'm talking about a spirit and culture and belief of on a brighter future in spite of today's difficulties. We must be resolute in finding ways to propel and sustain the mission of education for the young people in our country and our continent. Yes, there are challenges. We know that some of these challenges are structural. We know some of them are caused by inaction by those who are supposed to act. For instance, we know just in the past 5 years of our operation as iKamvelihle and our partnership with the NMU, we have seen the challenges that are faced in some of these schools. We are talking now through in digital means. Most of the learners and the teachers in these schools cannot even be able to tune in to this discussion because there's no network infrastructure, no technology infrastructure. There's lack of morale. These are challenges, I know. Consider these two questions, for example. What is the percentage of learners in remote rural areas such as Kala that currently do not have access to such digital devices? They do not have access to a computer, do not have access to a school library, to a librarian, let alone a library corner. Here's another question. It's homework. Do you know that there are teachers who have difficulty in waking up every morning in those remote rural areas because they are worried about the fact that they do not have sufficient learning resources that are supportive for their teaching endeavors? So that is why we are so grateful of this intervention. This book bag project intervention is practical, it's not theoretical. Of course, it's not the only thing that can be done. There's more that can be done, but it is important because it starts somewhere, giving a book, placing it in the hands of a child and a teacher for a better future. We are convinced, as I conclude, that there are better things yet to come. We are convinced that this is an important call that we can all join in, the call to have an optimistic approach to education, to help inculcate a culture that is positive about the future, a culture of action, acting on the ground where the learners are and demonstrating visible results. I know that this visualization is often difficult because of the kind of negativity that is often out there. But this negative environment must not place us in a point of paralysis. There are good news. Last week, I was telling the Vice Chancellor, Professor Mutwa, about one of the first students that were involved in our program in iKamvelihle. His name is Zusakhe. And coming from that village, he's amongst many who have now passed BSc degree. And he passed with flying colors, majoring in mathematics and statistics. And he has started working this year. He's working in a science agency, and I know that he will proceed to learn and take further the journey of learning, lifelong learning, because that is important. So there are good news, and he can be a ray of hope to others as well who follow behind him. So we do hope for a brighter future, and we are grateful and thankful to you all represented here for joining us and for the books that you will be providing to learners in all of these 10,000 hands that will hold them. Thank you very much.